Welcome back to another episode of the Max Term Podcast. Kyle Stitch here alongside James Finch. And today we have something a little bit different for you. I was kind of inspired by some of the recent discussion around, it was really Lane Hutson's contract that really got me thinking about this. Like the Canadians not really being heavy on doing signing bonuses. It's always out there that Buffalo's cheap and doesn't give signing bonuses. So that's another thing that always is in the back of my mind. So this episode's kind of pulled a bunch of numbers and we'll get into it, but it's kind of about how teams structure contracts and just going to talk about some general if there's advantages, disadvantages, if we see any trends developing or anything like that. So see where this kind of conversation goes. We have a bunch of numbers in front of us, and we're just going to we talked beforehand. I think we had some interesting things to say as well as everything. So we'll see. Appreciate you listening. Max Term Podcast available on all major podcast platforms. Our content, including contract projections, available on X at AFP Analytics. Threads, Blue Sky, same handle. You can find through our link tree on all those places. Our link to buy me a coffee if you've appreciated our work and would like to contribute financially. Appreciate any contributions. We will take percentage. I think 10% was what we did last time. We'll take 10% of the proceeds, donate to. We haven't decided on which charity we're going to do for this iteration. Could stick like Rochester Emergency Veterinary Service like we did for last, or we'll pick something different, maybe something different around the holidays or something. We'll see. Could be a good idea. Anyways, let's get into, again, I don't even know what we'll kind of call this episode, but kind of contract structures, observations.
Yeah.
Here's a good catchy title. Are no trade and no move clauses like candy on Halloween?
If you're the New York Islanders.
If you're a lot of, I mean,
yeah, if you're a lot of teams. I more pick on them because a while back, I don't even remember when it was, when I first kind of mentioned it'd be good to talk about trade clauses at some point. I believe it was the Islanders that first sparked that idea. Because when you'd pull up whatever cap wages, even like go back a half decade and you're talking about cap friendly, like it seemed as if 80% of the team had a trade clause of some kind, which, yeah, I mean, they're a team that I guess I'll kind of explain how we looked at some trade clauses here.
Yeah.
So we didn't just count how many players have a trade clause currently. We specifically looked at how many players currently on the team who were signed by that team have a trade clause somewhere in their contract, whether they currently have that clause, whether they had it and it expired, or whether it will eventually come into effect. Islanders have 14 players that apply there, which interestingly enough is not the most. It's not even the second most. It's the third most. But still, that sounds like an insane amount of players. That's your top 6, your top 4, and then some.
Yeah, I think both goalies.
Like, yeah, like it's just, in my head, I struggle with it because I've said before it'd be awesome to see a limit on trade clauses, but that's also terrible for players. That's a conversation for another time. But yeah, there's a lot of trade clauses throughout the NHL.
Yeah, and so you kind of laid out how we came up with these numbers. I should also mention players under age 27 who aren't signed basically for years covering unrestricted free agency cannot have a trade clause in their contract. We did set a threshold of $1 million to qualify basically as part of the sample. So this excluded anyone on like an entry level But if someone was on a bridge type of contract covering a couple RFA years, they can't necessarily have a trade clause. I think an example sticking with the Islanders is Emil Heinonen signed this offseason by Matthew Darsh. I don't even think he can have a trade clause in his contract, yet he counts in this sample. So kind of it would have been very nuanced to go through and pull numbers without of that. But yeah, I mean, I think we can talk about, do teams hand these out like candy on Halloween, because there's a lot.
So Carolina has 17. And I don't know if you just mentioned this or not. Extensions. So deals that aren't yet like in effect. I
Yeah,
don't know
we
why I
we we
struggled with
we
words
kind
there.
we kind of looked at what contracts for the for the 26-27 season almost, unless if they had one for the 26-27 season, that was the one that superseded their current contract.
Yep.
Example, Jackson Blake signed a 8-year extension this offseason, sticking with Carolina here. He's still technically entry level, but because he has that extension in his back pocket, he counts, and he has a no trade clause. So I think we'll here's a quick trivia question for all our listeners out there. So Carolina, I looked at 20 contracts that they had signed. They have 3 players without no trade clauses who have a cap hit over $1 million for this upcoming season. Give everyone a minute and think about which 3 players on the Carolina Hurricanes do not have that no trade clause in their contract. I know I told you one off before we had recorded. We'll see if you how good your memory still is for this.
So currently on the team that they make more than 1 million.
Yeah.
And there isn't, or they're about to with an extension, and there isn't a no trade clause. You told me one.
Yeah, I certainly did.
Oh, Slavin.
Jacob Slavin. Slavin.
Yeah, I always mess that one up. That's one. I'm going to
one.
say, did they give one to Hall?
They sure did give one to Taylor Hall.
Does Freddie Anderson have one?
Oh, he I think has to, being on a 35 plus contract.
Okay, he's old. Yeah.
That is the right direction though.
Kochetkov?
Correct. Peter Kochetkov.
Then
I will give you the third because there's no chance you're getting the third.
Wait. No, there's a chance. Eric Robinson.
Oh, that is a great guess, but Eric Robinson has a trade clause in his contract.
That's insane. All right, who is it?
Mike Riley.
Yeah.
Whose cap hit is exactly $1 million.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't have had that.
Further to this point, there are only... So this season for Carolina, so again, the 17 out of 20 is the entirety of the contract. But this season for Carolina, Seth Jarvis, Jackson Blake, Logan Stankoven, in addition to those other 3, Alexander Nikishin as well, in addition to those other ones, are the only ones without trade clauses in their contracts. And that's because all of them, Mark Jankowski too. Outside of Jankowski, all those other players are on entry levels who would not be able to actually have it in their contract. So basically what I'm saying is, outside of Mike Riley, Jacob Slavin, and Mark Jankowski, and Peter Kochetkov, every player that's eligible to have a trade clause for this season has one in Carolina.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, I mean, the fact that I guessed Eric Robinson.
Yes. And you're wrong.
And I was wrong. flip the script a little bit. Team with the least amount of trade clauses. Ooh, Winnipeg?
Winnipeg.
5.
Yep.
So there are 5 players who have a trade clause in their contract.
Would you like? I'll pull them up and you can try and rattle off which 5.
Hellebuck.
Correct.
Scheifele.
Correct.
Morrissey.
Correct.
I was going to say he should, but I wondered if he was a weird one that stuck out. Who do they even have anymore? Does Taves have one, technically?
No.
Okay.
Well, maybe being a 35 plus, but I don't think so.
Pionk?
Correct.
That's 4. Lowry.
That is correct.
5. Oh, I'm good.
Oh,
no. Did you miscount? Did I miscount?
I certainly miss.
Oh, you sorted this sheet. I didn't do Winnipeg.
Should be 6.
Should be 6.
6.
So there's one more?
Yeah.
Niederreiter?
No.
Velarde.
Kyle Connor.
Oh, jeez. Duh.
Yeah, I figured if you were kind of already
I was out of like the good.
Well, you said Velarde. Velarde was a good guess, but once you said Velarde and moved on.
Once I moved on from like Hellebuck and Scheifele, I wasn't going to say Connor.
So obviously there could be a little bit of an error because I counted all these manually. Oh no, it was right. Washington has the least. Washington. We were.
Oh,
both
I was looking at the wrong thing.
Incorrectly.
Okay.
Winnipeg
well,
6.
What was the point
Washington.
of that?
Yeah, Washington 5. Sticking with Winnipeg though, so this is the.
Sure. Yeah, because. Yeah.
So. They don't give trade clauses, and they also don't do signing bonuses. And that was really the crux of, well, the trade clauses thing you had brought up however long ago as like a thing. So I wanted to kind of pull that. But the crux of this really was to look at the signing bonus conundrum, I'll say, because I think the discussion about it is bad and thought of as poor teams don't give signing bonuses. Good teams in good tax situations, but really just good teams who are constant contenders do give signing bonuses. And I'm here to say that is probably not true. I think that that's a perception that exists that is not necessarily backed up. I don't think the numbers bore that out by any means.
No, and doing this exercise, I fully agree. It is much more. I don't know. That's not a consistent theory.
The theory that was working that I thought was going to bear out was, okay, yeah, we would see certain teams giving lots of signing bonus, certain teams not giving lots of signing bonus. And then I started pulling the numbers. Like I could have gone like 5 to 10 teams in and been like, okay, this isn't worth talking about. But I think it is. I think there's enough. I think it did bear out where it is worth talking about. So sticking with Winnipeg, they don't give trade clauses and they don't give signing bonus. They basically structure their contracts as straight salary. I'm pretty sure most are straight average annual value is their salary. I don't know if they do. I don't remember seeing a much uneven structure or anything like that. Why this is interesting is because a lot of this, Winnipeg in particular, Kyle Connor.
Yeah.
He is the only player on the Winnipeg Jets to have a contract that includes a no movement clause and signing bonus more than the first year.
Yeah, and he has it for more than 6 years.
Yeah.
Or 6, maybe 6. But yeah, no one else has it for more than the first year.
He is also the only max term
Yeah.
that they have given.
And I will say it was reported that supposedly they asked other vets, leaders on the team, like, are you okay with us doing this?
Yeah. Which
So they strayed from their general philosophy, culture, whatever you want to call it.
to give their probably best player.
Yeah.
Except, well, Hellebuck's probably their best player, but
Best skater.
best skater, an kind of extraordinary contract by their standards.
Yes.
So Winnipeg would. So those players that you basically had named were the ones that have a level of signing bonus. So most of the ones that have no trade clauses are the ones who have signing bonus in the first year of their contract. What I think is incredibly interesting is I guess we'll go here first. There are one, and I think you're counting them as I am. 1, 2, 3 teams that do not have a contract on their books. I don't think Anaheim's right. Actually, maybe it is. Interesting.
Who?
Vetrano with his deferred money. I guess maybe it is.
I didn't see. I mean, it wasn't listed as a signing bonus.
It could be
But
deferred salary, or it could be salary deferred.
Deferred amount, yeah.
The ones that do have deferred signing bonus, it explicitly does say signing bonus. So
Deferred amount.
yeah, he has no signing bonus.
Okay. So yeah.
So that point stands: Anaheim, Ottawa, St. Louis.
So, and again, this is no contracts currently on their books that team has signed that have a signing bonus within the contract.
Correct.
In any year within that contract.
Correct.
Those 3 teams, 0.
Yeah. Jordan Kyrou, Robert Thomas do not have signing bonus in their contracts for St. Louis. Brady Tkachuk does not have signing bonus in his contract for Ottawa. You had went through Anaheim and you were noting McTavish did not get signing bonus. Lacombe did not get signing bonus. So I had expected Detroit because of Anaheim with Pat Verbeek coming from Detroit. I had expected Detroit to be on that list. They have 2 players who received signing bonus. And it was a very small amount, and it was in year 1, and I think it was Cop and Comfer or something like that. Free agent signings that got a little bit of token signing bonus up front. But generally, Dylan Lark and Mo Seider do not have signing bonus in their contracts. So another team that's pretty staunchly operating with nothing. Lucas Raymond, no signing bonus either. Again, I think it was Cop and Comfer, but
it was Cop. Comfer didn't.
Maybe similar level player to those guys, but maybe I can.
Rasmussen.
Oh, Michael Rasmussen got a token like 200,000 or something. 500,000.
Interesting that of all the players,
yeah,
like
him,
he got one and other guys didn't.
Cop makes a little sense being a free agent, trying to attract him there. But anyways, so that those teams just don't give signing bonuses, and that's just a perception that the teams kind of employ, I guess, a tactic, whatever.
Yeah.
From a business standpoint, I feel like Detroit is a team that has enough money. Their owners perceived to be wealthy enough to be able to give signing bonuses. St. Louis, I think, is perceived well enough to be able to give signing bonuses. Anaheim and Ottawa now, but prior to new ownership,
Yeah.
definitely perceived as a team that probably didn't have the ability to give signing bonus. But even then, no one since new ownership has come in has received signing bonus.
Correct.
And then Anaheim, they could be thought of a little bit as maybe not being as cash flush as other teams in the league. So that could line up. But the
Yeah.
Pat Verbeek point coming from Detroit, where an Yzerman, where he really doesn't give them either, seems to carry some weight here.
I 100% agree. I think in general, I would have said I would sort of expect the list to be, or to have kind of the bad or rebuilding teams a little bit lower in the amount of signing bonuses. And I want to say in general, I do think that is the case. But I bring that up with Anaheim too, just as an example. But we can say, I don't know, San Jose. I mean, they have some too. But in general, like it wouldn't shock me to see some of the rebuilding teams that still need to give out bigger contracts to their players to not have those signing bonuses. But at the same time, you could almost explain that away a little bit with Anaheim now that they've signed McTavish, they've signed Lacombe, and those are two players you would kind of expect would have them.
They also had dipped into free agency 2 years ago, bringing in Alex Killorn and Radko Gudas. Those names I would not have been shocked to see signing bonus
Granlund this past year.
Granlund this past year, yep.
Yeah.
Any of those would not have been shocking to see signing bonus with, but they don't do it.
Right.
Does it mean, okay, so I mean, I guess St. Louis and Winnipeg are pretty perennially playoff teams.
Yeah, they're like at least good teams, like fighting for a spot at worst.
And they don't give out much signing bonus. One of the cash poorest teams for a while in the league, Arizona, now Utah. They only have 3 contracts with signing bonus on the books. I believe Clayton Keller, I think Schmaltz, and I know the only player with 1 year is Ian Cole, got a very small amount. Again, these are contracts that their organization signed.
Dating back to Arizona.
Back to Arizona with John Chaika. So dating back there, and then Doug Armstrong. I always forget which Armstrong's in the currently Utah GM. Anyways, where I'm kind of going with this is
Bill Armstrong.
Doug St. Louis, yes. So maybe it's an Armstrong thing. You don't give signing bonuses if your last name's Armstrong. So I would have expected that maybe some of the new contracts signed in Utah, Peterka, Gunther in particular, would have been signing bonus heavy if it's something that rich teams do and poor teams don't. Those 2 contracts don't contain signing bonuses. So basically so it's Schmaltz and Keller are the only ones with more than a year of signing bonus, both signed in Arizona under the previous ownership, previous GM. And then Ian Cole got, as I said, a token like $250,000.
Yeah.
200,000. Oh, sorry, that's a performance bonus. That should not count. I'm sorry. So the only 2 players in Utah with signing bonus are Schmaltz and Keller. So that's as much of an organizational GM philosophy as it is cash availability.
Yeah. So when we were looking at these numbers before we started recording, I kind of speculated on the just situationally if these numbers are kind of impacted by like what's going on off the ice. So you look at Utah, kind of the team was in existence already, but they are newly in Utah. They're investing in the community as far as hockey's concerned. They're putting in money to renovate the arena in Utah so it can be a little more hockey friendly and not just basketball friendly. This could be like this could have no impact for all I know, but I wonder if just scenarios like that could lead to teams kind of taking a step back and saying, "All right, we're not going to do signing bonuses right now." Like it trying to understand reasoning. Some teams might just decide we're not going to do that. That's our rule. Could things like renovating the arena or building a new one if you're the Islanders, like stuff like that where owners and teams need cash available, are they deciding, all right, let's not throw 3 mil to a signing bonus right away? I don't know. It's more a general thought that we cannot confirm nor really deny.
So, again, one of the inspirations for pulling this was Montreal, who you would assume is one of the most cash rich teams in the league. Maybe I'm a little off base there, but I would think that that's probably true. They only have 5 contracts out of 13, so I guess that's a fairly high percentage, but 2 of those were just recently signed. Prior to this offseason, they only had 2 contracts that included signing bonus past the first year. I believe it's Caulfield and Suzuki.
Okay.
And then maybe one more. Hudson and Dobson both got a lot of signing bonus this year. That was kind of the
Yeah.
part of the inspiration for this is them is the team not believing in doing signing bonus, also learning that they believe in trying to push their players to do RCA agreements, retirement contribution agreements with Revenue Canada instead of handing out signing bonus.
It's also a different regime.
Yes and no.
Well, like the newer stars on that team are kind of in the Gorton Hughes era
So
versus like a Gallagher.
yeah, so like Slavkovsky, you would is Hughes.
Yeah.
He has 2 years of signing bonus. Caulfield has 2 years of signing bonus. So yes, it's their top guys, but Hughes is really only given it. Suzuki was, I believe, actually signed by Bergevin. He
Okay.
was. Hughes is only given more than 2 years to Dobson and Hudson.
Yeah, I guess. So I don't know. To me, they're a little bit lower on the list,
Yeah,
but I would also say in general they're giving them to players I would expect to have them. And there's also some teams that are really handing out signing bonuses that are maybe a little bit more on the extreme end of, hey, like, well, you sign with us, we'll give you a bonus. Like,
which is the Vegas Golden Knights.
right. 10 players with 1 year, first year signing bonus.
100. I'll phrase it this way:
Yeah.
100% of the contracts that counted for our kind of sample can include some level of signing bonus.
Yep.
So 17 in the sample, all 17 include a level of signing bonus.
Players they have signed who make more than $1 million.
Yes. Caden Korzak's included in this because
Extension.
of
Yep.
the extension. But 10 of those
Yeah.
17 only have it in the first year. So so they're a team that I think you fans look at as, taking advantage of every tool available to them. And yes, their star players, their big names have very signing bonus laden contracts. But it's not as extreme as I think fans would think. Yes, they get the token in the first year. You know who else has almost the exact same number of 1 year of signing bonuses in the first year as the Vegas Golden Knights, the Buffalo Sabres. And I think if you're
9
with 9. So I don't think those two teams can be perceived any differently. They're about as polar opposites as possible. So yes, Vegas has given their star players signing bonuses, but that first year is the exact same amount first year as Buffalo has given. Again, Vegas has given more in total, but
yeah, they have some more long contracts, or I'm not wording that right. Contracts with signing bonuses much longer into the term. But yeah, I agree. Like the idea that a team like Buffalo isn't utilizing money, they're giving players signing bonuses. It's a different argument if you want to talk about whether or not they're using the cap. Like that's a little more obvious. But looking at how they are paying players, they are willing to give out money.
they give signing bonuses in the first year, which is just Buffalo is not as far out of line with the league as I think is probably perceived when it comes to this.
Yep.
They have given contracts with more than a lot of teams in general. Yes, they're not giving term, but there are philosophies that other teams are employing that are not too far out of it. The Islanders have two players with contracts that have signing bonuses, and it's for a year. That's it.
They just prefer to give out no moves.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So they prefer to give out no moves. The team that is leveraging this is Florida.
Yeah, they're kind of the interesting, at least the way we have this set up, kind of, they don't have any contracts with only first year signing bonuses.
I don't even know how many 1 year contracts they sign.
Yeah.
Outside of guys that might fall below the $1 million threshold.
10 players with
At least 6.
At least 6 years of signing bonuses within the contract.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I almost said by far the most. Second most, Tampa Bay, interestingly enough, with 7.
Yep.
And then it kind of drops to 5, I believe, a few different teams. But
yep.
Yeah, they're kind of fully taking advantage of, hey, we've got a lot of money we can spend. Come play for us. We'll give you a nice check each year.
Yeah. And the argument is that
there's also pros to that as a player having money and signing bonuses. But
yeah, so that's yeah. So the argument for it is benefiting the players is that it's not taxed in the away states, which is not true. Practice I'm not going to get into, but by the letter of the law, the signing bonus, unless there is specific verbiage in the contract, the signing bonus is part of salary. The player has to perform services for the team. And if they have to perform services for the team, states, California aggressively will say it is part of your salary and you have to pay tax on it. So the reality is really where the advantage is time value of money getting the paycheck sooner and getting and signing bonuses. The difference is you can't buy them out. It's guaranteed money. If there had been a labor concern, signing bonuses would have gotten paid if there was no games being played. So that's why. So there's the tax reason, but really the two reasons it makes sense for players to put in their contracts is they get more money in their pockets quicker, and it's guaranteed to come to them. Which also means that Florida, if they at some point need to start getting out of some of these contracts, are not going to necessarily have an avenue to do so.
You mentioned the words guaranteed to come to them, and that kind of helps with buyouts a little bit. So money that like is going to be there regardless. That's an important factor to a player. So yeah, I mean both Florida teams heavily using signing bonuses to attract players. Obviously, there's other reasons that players would want to play for those teams, but it is a plus that they do this.
Let's see. We might be jumping around here, but another kind of thing that I definitely wanted to hit on was the new CBA. So the new CBA has done two things, and this was kind of one of the main things to kind of tease out here. It changes how signing bonuses can be allocated across the life of the contract, but it also has limited the max term from 8 years to 7 if re-signing with your current team.
Hashtag Max Term Podcast.
Available on all major podcast platforms. Or 6 instead of 7 if you're signing with a new team in unrestricted free agency. I tried to sort our prep sheet and something apparently did not work properly.
You put a handful of stars in there to match some notes.
Yes.
And that threw it off.
Yeah.
So we're gonna.
I had tried to make a note of the max terms that were given on 7-year contracts to players that had signed in as true unrestricted free agents.
I fixed it for you.
Perfect. There we go.
Blue cells or notes.
Oh, perfect. See,
one
of us
notes.
is much better with Google Sheets than the other.
Well, color coding never hurt anyone.
Yeah.
Got some.
Unless you're colorblind.
Well, all right. I guess that.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't hurt them. It just didn't help them.
Yeah. Yeah, and you chose like two of the worst colors if I could not distinguish colors.
Can you distinguish colors?
I certainly can distinguish.
Well, then we're fine.
I fortunately can distinguish colors, but not to joke too much about that.
True.
Max term. Again, I think this is maybe where you see almost more of the good teams versus the not good teams. This is the first like divide that I kind of see emerging, and it's not entirely like obviously there's outliers each way, but this feels like
you could almost cut the list in half. So cut the league in half, and you see good teams on the top.
A lot of playoff teams, a lot of perennial playoff teams to the top, and a lot of non-perennial playoff teams to the bottom.
Yep.
Which makes a little sense where some of these teams might be in their rebuild schedule, as well as that they haven't had the opportunity to give players max term.
Right. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that San Jose has one. Like if we did this 10 years ago, 8 years ago, they would have way more than that.
Yeah.
This portrays kind of where teams are.
Pittsburgh has none. Pittsburgh has none at this point.
Remember, this is also it's contracts that the team has signed.
Yeah, so Erik Karlsson, yes, was on an 8-year contract, but the Penguins did not give that out. So the top teams, Florida, no surprise. Tampa, no surprise. Carolina, probably not a big surprise. The Islanders, probably not a big surprise because that was the way Lou did things.
Yep.
Gave a lot of term to keep dollar values down. The Devils. The Bruins are a little bit of a surprise to me being up here, but that's partly because they gave out some to unrestricted free agents too.
Well, max term,
Trying to figure out who the Bruins are.
Swayman, McAvoy, Lindholm, Pasta.
Yeah,
Who's the other one?
might be both Lindholms. Both Lindholms. Hampus and Elias. Elias being 7 in unrestricted free agency. Shockingly, we had to do a quick pause to make sure that when we had each pulled data that we had both remembered to pull 7-year contracts for unrestricted free agents. I think we got them all.
Yes.
And there's really actually not that many in the entirety of the NHL. Sergei Bobrovsky, Jake Gensel, Elias Lindholm, Dougie Hamilton, Artemi Panarin, Vladislav Gavrikov, Vincent Trocheck, Alex Pietrangelo, Nazem Kadri, Chandler Stevenson, and Brandon Montour. That's, if I did this correctly, those are the only players who left an unrestricted free agency and signed a 7-year contract. Which that to me is kind of mind blowing.
Yeah. At least of, just to make sure we're clear, of current deals.
Current deals, yes.
But yeah, that is, you would think more just, I mean, a big part of that is most good players don't leave.
Yeah.
Like most players worthy of signing a max term contract generally stay with their teams. So there's not a ton of those 7-year free agent deals.
Yeah. Yeah. Finishing some of the teams with the most max term contracts, kind of perennial playoff teams. So Boston, the Rangers, who, well, maybe aren't perennial playoff teams. Vegas.
They think they are.
Edmonton, Montreal, who maybe hasn't been, but probably will be soon. Dallas, St. Louis, and then we got Philadelphia, and we'll cut it there. That's 4 and above.
Yeah, and that's 12 teams.
13.
12 teams. Oh, Fort Philly. Okay, yeah, 13.
Yeah, 13. So just about half the league, a little bit less than half have. And of those teams that I named, Philly might be the only like non-perennial playoff team. I mean, the Islanders now aren't, but they were for a little while when they were giving those contracts out. Montreal maybe doesn't. If I'm going to say the Islanders belong, maybe Montreal doesn't belong. So we'll take. So maybe 2 of those teams. New Jersey's kind of borderline as well. Depending on how we're going to look at it, but
yeah, but a lot of their deals are like recent
enough
when they've been very good.
So if we're taking 13 teams, I would pretty confidently say 10 or 11 are perennial playoff teams. So that's all but 6 of the playoff contenders or basically yearly playoff teams that just don't get max term or that do get max term. Is there something to be said about that?
I think mainly it more just kind of confirms what you would think. Like it makes sense that if you are a good team, you're going to have more players that you would be willing to sign to a 7. Well, let's say 8 to keep them or bring in a player on a 7-year. Which really, like when you listed those 7-year free agent deals, a majority of them were for teams that are good teams.
Yeah.
The bad teams in the league generally aren't really the ones making those big free agent 7-year splashes.
Yeah.
Whether that is because they don't want to or because the players don't want to go to those teams, that's, I guess, maybe a different debate. But it makes sense the good teams are the ones with the biggest contracts.
Yeah. Point out Toronto just had John Tavares come off the books. He was a 7-year contract, which was max
Yep.
term.
Yep. So that would have put them at 3 if he was still.
Yep. And then Austin Matthews has been intentionally choosing to not do
Yeah.
max term.
Smart
McDavid
for him.
also, yeah. McDavid also is not included in max term because of his 2-year extension. So Toronto technically only has 2, but Matthews and Tavares kind of give them a little bit of an asterisk there. And then they're suddenly at 4.
And in that top group.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's I think there's more. I want to be careful saying correlation because we haven't done any statistical tests here. But there seems to be a little bit more of a relationship there than with the signing bonus thing.
Yeah, the signing bonus thing, I think the general theory amongst hockey fans is the bad teams are bad. They don't make money. They don't spend money. They're not really utilizing money. And it's very like there's a variety of good teams and bad teams who are perfectly fine giving out a ton of signing bonuses and some who don't want to do it at all.
So I'll sort by percentage of contracts that include signing bonus, but not only in the first year, because pretty standard practice seems to be at least giving something in the first year.
Yeah.
So here are the top teams in terms of this. So this is having signing bonus over more than 1 year of a contract. Florida, Toronto, Vancouver, Washington, Boston, Edmonton, New Jersey, Tampa, Nashville, Rangers, Carolina, Philadelphia, and I probably should stop there because I think that that's about LA Kings, and that would be the same, going down the exact same amount of teams, I believe.
Generally good teams with some sprinkled in, not as good, maybe a little more so. So yeah, less correlation here.
Similar though, I think
Yeah,
I take like I say 3 or 4 maybe don't belong, which is
yeah.
about in line.
I think this is where if like you're a Buffalo fan who's mad, if you want to get on them, sure. They don't do signing bonuses after the first year. Whether that truly matters or not, I guess we can't say for sure. Like, has that impacted them getting versus not getting a player? I don't know.
Well, let's do with just signing bonus in general real quick. Top teams: Rangers, Vegas, Florida, Edmonton, Vancouver, Washington, Devils, Flyers, Carolina, Tampa Bay, LA Kings, Toronto.
So that's the same amount of teams, but there's a ways to go until we get to like 50% of the contracts over a
Yep.
million with a signing bonus. Sure, I look at this right. 21 teams, 50% of their contracts over $1 million that they've signed.
Yeah, 21 teams, yeah. Have some level of signing bonus.
So call it 2/3.
Yep. So yeah. And of those, I would say that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those 7, depending on how you want to talk about Vancouver.
Yeah.
Maybe 8 are not perennial playoff teams. So 22 minus 8, 14.
I think just what this would say, I think was kind of bringing up maybe there's arena construction or renovations. You brought up how there's simply just some teams that do not operate that way. Those are kind of extra factors that kind of make this a little less predictable and could explain there being not a strong correlation versus when we were looking at the max term and seeing a lot more of like, okay, the teams with the most max term deals are the good teams. I think there's less of a impact there because generally the better a team is, the better the players are. The better the players are, the bigger of a contract they're going to get. I think that's a little easier lo- logic, I guess. We'll call it that. That's a little more step by step, 1, 2, 3 than signing bonuses. I think there's a little bit more to them and why or why not they're happening.
So interestingly, I would say that there were, I think, 3 teams eyeballing this that really fell outside of that outside of that like 13 that I was talking about for both not having max term and not giving a ton of signing bonus, and but still being perennial playoff contenders. Maybe 4: St. Louis, Minnesota, Winnipeg, and Colorado. Ottawa,
Yeah.
depending on how, I don't know if I can say that they're perennial. I think they hope to be soon.
Yeah, they're not.
And then yeah, so those teams are kind of the ones that are missing no matter how we shape this. One of them has won a cup fairly
Yeah.
recently. The other was the President's Trophy winner last year. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So like there's exceptions regardless of what we want to say like seems to correlate or not.
yeah, are we cherry picking a little? Maybe, but I
To an
don't,
extent.
to an extent. But I also don't know if it's if there's a like clear contract structure way of winning and clear contract structure way of losing. Probably should do trade clauses real quick just for sake of being consistent.
Yeah.
So top teams with sorting by percent of contracts with trade clauses: the New Jersey Devils, Carolina Hurricanes, Edmonton Oilers, Tampa Bay, Toronto, Islanders, Seattle, Florida, LA, Boston, Minnesota, Montreal. Again, about the same. No.
Mostly good teams.
Yeah. That one makes
Seattle
Seattle.
mixed in.
That makes a little bit more sense because players are going to be more willing, although I guess it doesn't count. It does, my list does not count if they had waived to go to those teams, but it also would make sense that they would stay with those teams with their trade clauses, kind of. So
Yeah.
I think, to me, the takeaway is I don't know if it matters how you like. I think maybe too much is made out of structuring contracts. It certainly matters from a financial and tax standpoint, but I think it's overblown in how much of a competitive advantage it really truly is.
Yeah, I think it matters in individual cases, whether you want to look specifically at how one team operates or would be interesting. I don't know if it's something we'll do or not, but like certain agencies look to get signing bonuses more often, or at least they do get them more often than others. And that can kind of speak to how players could potentially operate. But I think signing bonuses, signing bonuses specifically, I think to understand how a team individually on their own operates, this is very helpful. I don't know if we're necessarily seeing enough of a trend to whether the team would be good or not.
Yeah.
Same with like the no moves and no trade clauses. There's so many of them throughout the league that I would lean towards saying in general, like better teams would have more of them, but that's not always the case here. I think if anything, between the clauses, the bonuses, and looking at the max term numbers, I feel like the max term has probably the strongest correlation to a team being a winning team.
Again, we're speaking anecdotal. I mean, we have numbers in front of us, but we haven't run statistical tests to prove that this is
Right.
true. We're kind of just looking at the numbers, seeing how they order up, how they bear out. But I don't think that that's necessarily a wrong statement to make. And I think what there, I have some level of nuance, but there's a lot more nuance that really needs to be bore out to be able to really make definite statements, because Chicago, for example, should not be a team that has a bunch of no move clauses and max term deals yet.
Right.
They just shouldn't be that, because they don't have players that should be getting those.
It makes sense that they don't have a max term contract. Like you'd say, like I was wondering, like, did they give Vlasic 8 years? No, it was 6. Did Nazar? I don't even remember. I think it was 6.
I think 7, I think.
7 maybe. Bedard, like they could have a 1 next to, or we could have a 1 next to Chicago in 2 weeks for all we know. Like,
yeah.
And he signs max term. So, but yeah, they're very much early in their process of trying to be good versus a team like Florida, who have 9 max term deals where they're trying to keep all of their stars to win 3 cups in a row.
Yeah, it might be a chicken or the egg thing. Is do you get good because you give out contracts with term or signing bonuses, or do you, after you get good, do you give them because you've attracted good players?
Right.
Or are you giving them to lessen, like in Florida's case, the actual average annual value of contracts? Like we talked last episode about a little bit about Mikkola. Does he get 8 years almost anywhere else? Probably not, but Florida's concerned with lowering the cap hit now to be able to continue to contend.
Yep.
So kind of a chicken or the egg. So there's a lot more nuance to kind of tease out with all this, but I think it was interesting to start looking at. The agency lift was going to be a lot tougher to go through, but
I paused when I said that. I was like, that'll take a while.
But I also think it would be a very interesting thing. And as someone who has spent time each June figuring out like that,
yeah.
that's my last 2 weeks in June is running numbers basically to figure out structure. Like I've seen some interesting contract structure ideas.
You're essentially, those 2 weeks you are creating scenarios for
players.
Here's what it looks like here. Here's what it looks like there. If it's structured like that, this happens. If it isn't, this happens.
Exactly. And a lot of times it comes down to how successful the team is and where their wife wants to live.
yeah. That
or they want to live, but
right.
But that's yeah, we like I've ran some scenarios and given numbers and whatever, like okay, yeah, you could stay or you could go, and it could work out about the same. You got to make the choice, and then they decide, yeah, I want to do this because of some reason that has nothing to that. However many hours I just spent is just down the drain because it doesn't ultimately didn't really matter. So, like, again, I'm not saying they don't look and are not acknowledging it, but a lot of times it just comes down to, oh, this team came in at the last minute with a very strong offer that they said we need an answer in an hour, and we can't, like, player has to decide. So player makes the decision to go there because they like what they're being pitched. Anyways, I think we wrap this episode there. I think maybe we'll try to throw something along these lines in, because I think that this was an interesting enough discussion to kind of, like, early in the season is kind of our slowest time for content. So this is kind of something that's enough in our wheelhouse while also exploring a little bit different avenues. So we'll see if I can do the agency lift question at some point, because I think that would be very interesting to tease out.
I would for sure be helping you with that, because that's a lot to sort through.
Well, we'll see how that goes. But appreciate everyone listening. Max Term Podcast available on all major podcast platforms. Our content, including contract projections, available on X at AFP Analytics. You can also find us on Blue Sky Threads, same handle. If you are inclined to contribute financially, buy me a coffee through our link tree. Can be found through all those profiles. Appreciate you listening, and we'll talk to you next time.